Giant lore reveals are happening right now, and the 11.2 is on the PTR, and Midnight is getting announced in a bit more than a month, and we have official confirmations on what Xal'atath actually intends to do based on the new datamine dialogue and what is really going on. Of course, big spoilers for the main storyline as some characters are gone, some are still around, but let's just say that Xal'atath has even bigger ambitions than we previously thought, and she is not in fact serving anyone. Furthermore, for the PTR, we've learned what actually happened on Karesh, and most importantly, we have learned the names of two new Void Lords that we have never heard about, Artoshion and Pargoth. Void Lords that were defeated by dimensius that Xal'atath potentially has some history with. So let's cover everything we know, as this is so far one of the biggest lore reveals we had gotten pretty much since Legion, so let's talk about everything we just learned, as there is so much to uncover. So while Xal'atath is definitely doing something crazy, do you know your personal info like your home address, phone number, and even family details are also going crazy and being sold by data brokers right now? This is exactly why I use Optree, the most effective personal data removal service. You can start with their free exposure report, no credit card needed, and you will get actual screenshots and insight where you will see where your data is actually exposed online. It's super fast, but even more importantly, it's super shocking. If you like what you see, they also offered paid plans to remove this private information from over 640 data broker sites, more than any competitor out there. They combine automation with human reviews, and even more importantly, they monitor your info monthly, and they're so confident, so they're offering a 30-day money-back guarantee. It's ranked #1 by Consumer Reports, and PC Mag has it named as its editor's choice 4 years in a row. So take control of your digital privacy right now. Click my link in the description and use code DORON and get your free exposure report even today. So finally, after all this time, things are actually getting revealed and confirmed. I have been talking about Xal'atath's reveal like dozens of times because we constantly get small hints, conversations and such, but now things have actually legit been revealed, as Midnight is getting announced in like a month and a half, so finally official confirmations are going on from the patch. Now, I can't say this was that much of a surprise, but we did get some massive changes to the lore, some possible retcons, and really big setups for the future. As you may know by the lore so far from the Void, we were told that Xal'atath is not an old god. She was the harbinger of a Void Lord called dimensius the All-Devouring, which is the guy whose fragment we saw and we fought back in TBC. We also datamined the weapon he gifted to her during the times of the Black Empire, but turns out all of this was just like a red herring. It couldn't be further from the truth, as a lot more things are going on. So 11.1 ended with Ethereals, Void Ethereals stealing the Dark Heart, and previously, when this was datamined, we believe these Shadow God Ethereals are working for her, but it looks like they're actually working for dimensius. And not only that, but Xal'atath has actually betrayed her former master, if he even was a master in the first place. Xal'atath not only changed sides, but we've learned the entirely different history of Karesh and what really happened back in the day. Everyone knows by this point that Karesh was the homeworld of the Ethereals who were attacked by dimensius the All-Devouring. He blew out the planet with his void energy. The Ethereals lost their form because they tried to shield themselves from this attack. Well, check this out. So most of the story was actually BS. This is not what actually happened. Huge spoilers here, of course, but check this out. Venari, the broker from the Shadowlands, was just revealed to be an Ethereal. Actually, those broker guys you may remember are just pure Ethereals from Karesh, but their bandage form couldn't work in the weird realm that is the Shadowlands, so that is why they built the one we saw. And the reason Venari was all over the Maw was because apparently the Maw is about the same environment as Karesh, and she was trying to gather knowledge on what she can do to revitalize her homeworld. However, the big lore bump is that the Locust Walker, Venari, and Xal'atath go all the way back. This hasn't been fully clarified yet, but it has actually been them that blew up Karesh back in the day, not dimensius the All-Devouring, as we had previously believed. Now, don't get me wrong, dimensius did in fact attack the planet, just as the story goes, but these three united for some reason in the ancient past, and they did blow up dimensius into small pieces that are now reuniting in one big Void Lord, but they also, in this process, destroy the planet Karesh. Furthermore, Karesh also has a world soul that is actually still alive, but alive in the form of something like Argus, so barely. Now, I know this is all so much to take in at the moment, but trust me, there is so much more new lore that it just kinda came out of nowhere. I mean, I gotta admit, it really just kinda blindsided us with all this. I mean, this patch is like a different expansion expansion and has almost nothing to do with the War Within so far. However, check this out. Xal'atath is not actually working for dimensius. She has been working against him, but we finally learned what her long-term plan is. If you watch my previous videos, I talked about how she became our ally recently and how she was helping us defeat dimensius, which kind of came out of nowhere, honestly. Now, I'm guessing you guys can figure out what the outcome of that alliance was. I don't think there was a single person out there that thought this was a good idea in any way, and lo and behold, check this out. I know, crazy reveal, but she ends up betraying us and becomes our enemy once again. I know, huge shock. However, here, if you don't want to be spoiled, just skip this little bit because there's some huge spoilers here, but something really big happens. Locust Walker, the one that was convincing us and Illyria to work with Xal'atath at the start of the patch, ends up being defeated by Xal'atath, and this is about the moment she turns back into our enemy. We have this whole data-mine conversation from the patch with Illyria, where she swears she will avenge Locust Walker, who was something like a mentor to her, and most importantly, she pretty much officially confirms that Xal'atath is planning what she's planning, and I think she also kinda, in a way, reveals the plot of Midnight. Illyria says that she'll prevent her from becoming the new All-Devouring, and as you can guess, Xal'atath's ultimate plan was probably to consume the World Soul of Azeroth herself, to become more powerful than dimensius, and to become a Void Lord herself. So, looks like her being the Harbinger and setting up some other villain is not happening, and looks like she's going to be the villain in Midnight. I'm guessing Illyria's chase is going to be what is going to trigger the invasion around the Sunwell, because this is all related to the Void Elves. Now, don't stop just here, because we just got a huge banger with new lore reveals about the nature of the Void and the Void Lord. So, people are kind of criticizing this name already, but we've learned that apparently the realm where the Void comes from is called the Voidlands. I know, not exactly a super creative name, but it is the PTR still, so this may not be fully official. However, we learned, in my opinion, probably the most important Void lore in the past 2 years, and that is that we got 2 new confirmed Void Lords, and most importantly, we confirm what we previously suspected. So, the Void Lords are indeed chaotic, they're very different from the Titans, they're not in fact working with each other. We don't really know how many of them exist, whether it is 5 or a few dozen, but from the boss fight with dimensius, who is by the way the final boss of this expansion, he throws 2 Void Lords at us just like him. These are the Void Lords that he had previously defeated and enslaved. They're in this boss fight called the Devoured Lords, the Conquered Rivals, and they're called Artoshion and Pargoth. Very likely incredibly powerful entities, just like dimensius was, and now, together with dimensius and Invalidus, we have 4 confirmed names of the Void Lords in our universe. Now, with this moment, it is a hint, it is possible that Xal'atath served one of these guys and they were defeated by dimensius, so that could be why she has a bone to pick with him, but personally, I think it is all one big power play. Blizzard has been setting up the Void as this chaotic anarchy realm where everyone is vying for supremacy. Even Xal'atath herself in this very expansion told us that the Void is a place where the strongest wins. The old gods did very likely rebel, but Xal'atath wasn't sent to get them back in line as they previously thought, but in fact, she probably also betrayed everyone and she was like a third party, like yet another rebellious faction in this entire thing. Now, that travel to the past in the previous patch makes more sense, as when they imprisoned her, the old gods taunted her by saying she will be forced to watch as this world gains untold power without her. At this point, I think it might even be possible that the old gods didn't even betray the Void Lords. That possibility exists, but that they wanted to convert the planet, but Xal'atath didn't. It is possible what N'Zoth built in Xal'atath was supposed to finish the job, and Xal'atath couldn't stand that. Based on the fact that Xal'atath is helping us defeat dimensius and she knows how powerful he is, this was probably a long-term goal. She probably wanted to devour him just like he devoured the other 2 Void Lords, and she, as Illyria says, wants to become one herself, a new All-Devouring. So really, based on the most recent information, it does seem like this will be a setup for Midnight. She might use the Dark Heart to gather his essence, or very likely gather the essence of Karesh's almost destroyed World Soul, which, while it's not Azeroth, is still a World Soul, so super powerful, and I think she plans to use this power source to actually empower herself. Keep in mind, Xal'atath is still using the body of a Void Elf, and I think this might be what is going to be a bridge for Midnight, because we are getting an elf expansion. Almost certainly now the big invasion that is happening and the updated Midnight portal that we see in the new logo for Midnight is going to be the doing of Xal'atath. I think she's going to be finalizing her plan and trying to consume Azeroth, convert herself, and we will have to fight that. It isn't 100% confirmed, but I'm wondering at this point why she is even called the Harbinger in the first place so far. It was heavily hinted that she's bringing in someone else, but looks like she was working on her own plan pretty much the entire time, even back to the times of the Black Empire, and the goal all along was to become more powerful than her Void Masters. We will of course have to wait and see how this patch on Rebels and Midnight as well, and I think we will then figure out who she really is. Obviously she was on Karesh and is in some way related to the Ethereals, but it still hasn't been fully confirmed where she came from, where she originated from, but now at least we know what her plan for Azeroth is. Thank you for watching. Check out the new Void Demon Hunters that are coming by clicking on the screen, and check out my channel on real world history by clicking on the screen as well. See you next time.